What secret did you find out about someone that permanently changed the way you looked at them? I had a seemingly innocent friend who normally kept to herself about her issues. Then one day she told us that she couldn't tell if she had a sore throat because she was sick or because she swallowed too much cum the other night. That was the only thing I associated her name with afterwards. When I got to uni at 18, I ran into a girl I was in school with when we were 11 or 12. We caught up regularly, and one day she told me, very nonchalantly, about how the previous night, she had engaged in sexual acts with a car full of guys in exchange for weed. I was a bit stunned, mainly because it's so easy to find weed in that town. Who do I have to get some bud around here? Blue minivan over there, thank you. Here's a positive one. My wife, a defense attorney, has a work colleague who is the biggest asshole you will ever meet. A blowhard who revels in winning at any cost and brags about the snarky things he does to really twist the knife. He's known as a sharp legal mind, but I get the sense that he likes to try to screw weaker ADIS or other counselors and loves it when he catches them in some technicality. He makes all those stereotypes about lawyers seem valid. My church had a sort of Habitat for Humanity-esque service weekend where we were rehabbing an old warehouse into a new space as a temporary women's shelter for battered women. The offices were already up, but the individual rooms needed to be refloored, the bathrooms retiled, sheetrock needed to be hung and primed. To my surprise, I saw the arsehole there with a tool belt helping to install a sink. Long story short, he donates his legal services to that one shelter, helping to set up restraining orders, divorces, custody, etc., for abused women trying to get away from their abusive partner's family. At first I wondered if this was some sort of court-ordered community service. It wouldn't surprise me if he had done something to deserve it and then pissed off a judge somewhere. But no, the coordinator for the shelter who was working with my church says that he had been doing that for the past few years. Apparently his wife's previous husband was an abuser and he has a real heart for people in that situation. Had a work friend back in the day. His wife was really mean to him. She always would tell me his kids hate him even though they would run to the door excited when their daddy was home, and when she was really mad at him she would flip out and say that he his sister and pig. He would just ignore her and not say anything back. Now I just ignored it because she would always try and make him look bad when she was mad at him. Well, one night we were drinking and he was pretty drunk. His wife got mad and did it again, but this time the heated exchange went like this. You your sister and you pig once. Long pause. You know what? You. That shit happened like 3 years ago. You need to just drop it and move on. I don't deserve to have it rubbed in my face all the time. Then I realized why she held such resentment towards him, and I knocked the out of there and never talked to them again. I feel so bad for their kids. It was a really dysfunctional situation for them. Luckily I heard they aren't together anymore. That is not how I thought the story was going to end. It only slightly changed my perception, but I was about 9 or 10 when my dad told me why he and my mum split up. His exact words in a sad tone were she was seeing another man. He wouldn't tell me who it was. From now on, every time an affair is mentioned I give a quick glance to my mum. She still doesn't know I know. The other day in Subway I heard the following conversation. Dad, you guys want a Diet Coke? Kid, Mom says we can't have Diet Pop. Dad, what? Because of the aspartame. That lady just feeds you lies. Kid, why don't you like Mom? Dad, I love your mom a lot, but she decided she loves someone else, so here we are. He sounded real sad. It was sort of a profound thing to overhear while you enjoy a sub. There was a guy the first worked with that was kinda handsy, but generally really nice all the time. I learned he was gay, but in the closet. It was then I started noticing how he treated everyone else. Kinda douchey. He isn't handsy with anyone else, so all the positive attention was him trying to flirt, I guess. He was not very good at it. I had a conversation with him when he asked me to lunch. I had to awkwardly explain that I am married, etc. I feel like I may have accidentally led him on. I feel a little bad about it, but I wore my ring every day and I have pictures of my family on my desk. We are still on friendly terms and I introduced him to my circle of gay bro friends to help him acclimate to the culture. We became decent enough friends, but a lot of the flirt-like behavior stopped. In my early days as a lawyer, I represented a sweet old widower with Parkinson's disease who was being sued by a local store for groceries his late wife had purchased on credit without ever paying for. I felt awful for him. And then, shortly before trial, I found out he'd done jail time for molesting children. My uncle forced my dying granddad to sell over the family beach house for a very low price. He is now a millionaire. There was this one girl I'd known for a long time but wasn't massively close to, who we all thought was being terribly controlled by her boyfriend. She would tell us that he decided when you was allowed to drink, when she was allowed to go out, what she was allowed to do, etc., and that he hid things around the house, and that he had started to impose bedtimes for her and shout at her over what seemed like extremely minor things. We all thought he was awful and encouraged her to leave. Then she moved in with me and I realized she was extremely emotionally unstable and an alcoholic. Within months, I found myself wanting to do, or in some cases actually doing, all the things she said her controlling boyfriend had done. I remember one time, after trying to remain patient with her for a while, she said one thing that was relatively minor and it was the last straw. I just snapped and screamed at her. I then got phone calls from all our mutual friends to talk about my behavior and anger management, presumably as a result of the story being told back to them in a somewhat biased way. So, in a way, her secret changed my opinion of him. A family member's ex-wife of several years whom I was still close with asked me never to leave my daughter alone with my relative. She said that the reason they never had kids was that he confided when incredibly drunk that he had uncontrollable desires towards really young girls. He was upset and told her he felt he was evil and deserved to die. She asked him if he ever did anything and he said no, and asked her to forgive him and asked God to make him better. Again, he was like blackout intoxicated. This was surprising information. She didn't tell me in spite and actually still loves him very much. I haven't heard or seen evidence of grooming or any extra attention paid to any of the female children in my family. He could have just been really drunk and out of his mind, but there is zero way I'm going to leave my daughter alone with him or let her out of my sight at family functions. I don't have evidence that what she said was true, so I can't really do anything with the information other than be diligent. The local park homeless alcoholic was once a professor of ancient history and dead languages and could speak and write in languages many of us would never even see. He used to teach at Trinity College until he was convicted for his wife's death. How she died, or if he did, it is a mystery to me, but one person I've spoken to reckons it was an accident and another says they don't think he did it. Made me see the reality that no matter who you are, you could end up in a personal hell. A friend I grew up started dating a guy and quickly got pregnant and married at 25 or so. One night, hanging out with her and her husband, he's like, "Did she ever tell you how we met?" Apparently she was an escort since right after she turned 18. He was one of her Johns, but they took a liking to one another. They've since been divorced. I just found out yesterday that my wife, 29, a teacher, started an affair with a student 18 of hers about 2 months ago. We have been together for 10 years and married for 4. We have a 4-month-old daughter and she threw it all away. Career, marriage, and family. I had no idea anything was wrong until 6 days ago when I found her crying in bed and she told me she was depressed, no longer in love with me, and suicidal, mostly because of my drinking habits. I took sole responsibility, swore off drinking, and had her signed up for marriage counseling the same day, plus got her in contact with a postpartum depression group. 6 days later she is sent to a crisis center by her school and I find out everything after the psychiatrist there makes her tell me the truth when I show up to bring her home. My life is so right now that I can't even sleep and I'm holding a 4-month-old baby trying not to cry while her cheating mother is 5 miles away in a hospital room. Safe to say I will never see my wife the same way again. My grandma cheated on my grandpa when he was in the war. One of her kids isn't his. Everyone knows but no one talks about it. That my friend from middle school was in the witness protection program, and his last name was Fake. I read that as his last name was Fake and thought immediately, why the hell would they draw attention to it by making his last name Fake? Hi, I'm Michael Fake. I am not running on all cylinders. My wife's bestie confided in us that, while short of money, was moonlighting as a professional dominatrix. Until then we had thought that she was super vanilla. There is an engineering professional at my workplace that likes to wear pricey articles of clothing. He even sports a Breitling wristwatch priced from $3,000 to over $17,000, as his work timepiece. Turns out that he and his wife are buried beneath a mountain of credit card debt. And while I do not look down my nose at him, I definitely view his attire and accessories differently knowing that fact. Found out my best friend tried to rape a girl once and bragged about it to everyone but me. Also found out he held a knife to one of his ex's throats. There are many more things. But finding this out after a 10-plus year friendship, I ended it abruptly.